Okay. All right. Thank you for bringing that to my notice. So I'm recording now. So we'll start, right? So where we stopped yesterday was box model. So I want us to look out for our homework. Let's look at outline towards align for our homework, right? Let's do that. Then we'll take combinators because I'm trying for us to finish this thing. So we'll start with combinators now. So CSS Combinator is something that describes the relationship between the selectors. And today we looked at one of it, which is the word child selector. So there are different types of combinators. There are 4 different types of combinators in CSS. We have descendant combinator. You do that one with you apply that one using what you applied. I'm sorry, this boy is playing with my this thing here, my screen. Okay, yes. So we have greater than for child, space for descendants, and for adjacent we have plus, and general sibling we have this symbol. So I'll show us how it works. So, but earlier today when we were doing that classwork, we had already done what? The child. So we understand how the child works. So these are combinators. That is how you can use your combinators in CSS. Excuse me. The descendant selector matches all elements that are descendant of a specific element. So I was giving an instance earlier that there is a parent element, right? Then in the parent element, we have what? Children. So look at this div now. This div has children. That's 3 children, right? It has P, and section as its children. Then it now has a grandchild. The grandchild is what? P, that is in what? Section, right? So the descendant selector matches all elements that are in the descendant of a specific element. So for the descendant elements, including the grandchild, though, including the great-grandchild, though, including the child, though, so far you are in that parent element, what? You are a descendant selector. And how you style your descendant selector is by what? Is by leaving space. It's by leaving space. God, which kind of problem is this? I'm coming. Please give me a few minutes. I'm not please hold this, but don't let my phone go off. It's really typing nonsense with my laptop. All right, so like I said the descendant selector is what? Is the selector that is inside a what? Parent. So all the selectors in a parent are called descendant selector. And how you style them? Let me just exit this and click on the try it again. So how you get to use it is that you can see we call P, right? But audio P in div. So don't forget you call the div name plus the what? Plus the child's name or the descendant name. If you notice, all the P that was in what? That div, both the ones that are grandchildren, those ones that are children. You can see all of them, right? All of them came up, right? Are we together? So far this P is in the div. If you like, it should be a grandchild. If you like, it should be a great grandchild. So far it is found in the div. Please, can you mute yourself? Can you mute yourself, please? All right. So that's how your descendant selector works. So Elise has posted the attendance. Let's all look at the attendance. Then we have our child selector, right? So the child selector selects all elements that are the children of a specific element. So we can see descendants. We'll see the difference between descendant and child. We can see that for this descendant, we have 3 children here, which is P, P, and section. But in this section, we have another P. But when we use the descendant selector, when we say div P, we also pick the word grandchild, which is the child of this selector. It also styled it. But for child that we did today, it only pick the word child. It won't pick the descendants. It won't pick the grandchild. It's only the child element to pick. So it's only the child element it will pick, right? So you can see that this paragraph 3 didn't pick it because it's not a child, it's a descendant. That is, it's inside a child element. So that's for your child selector when you are doing combinators. Then there's not something called adjacent sibling selector. For adjacent sibling selector, we use what? We use P, right? For adjacent, for descendants, we just did div P. Why for children, we use div, then we use the greater sign, greater down symbol or sign, then we use the div. Right, for the adjacent, we will use plus. How the adjacent works is that the adjacent selector is used to select an element that is directly after another specific element. So the sibling element must have the same parent element, and adjacent just means immediately following. So I'll show you. So can you see this? Right? So the plus selector is used to select an element that is directly after another specific element. This is the example here. Can you see this div? You can see this div, right? So after this div has 2 what? Children, P and P. Then this P after this div does not have a parent. It is just there. Then after that, we now have another one that has what? A parent, right? The div. Then we have 2 P's inside. They're just using this P and div to explain what's going on. Then after that, we now have what? P and P, right? So in this case, you can see that after this P that is 3, paragraph 3, that was what took the color. and this paragraph 7, it was those colors that changed because they are adjacent siblings. So adjacent sibling just means that the element directly after a parent, that's the element that you would style. Do we get that? If you are with me, please can you drop your favorite emoji if you don't understand what I'm saying?
Oh, please come again.
Okay. So for our adjacent sibling, you know, I said for descendants, we'll just say the P, and every P that is a child, that is every P that is a child, a grandchild, a great-grandchild, so far that P is in that div, it will have what? A background color called yellow. That's for your what? Descendants. Why for your child selector, it just only specifically chooses your child. So even if you have a grandchild, it will not pick your grandchild. It's your child is going to pick. And what I mean by grandchild is that if you have a child in a parent, then that child now has another element in it. Right? The way we have section here, that section is in div, but in section we now have P. That's an example of a grandchild, right? So what we used to do this is that we do div greater than and P. So that's for what? Child. Then for adjacent, can you see for adjacent? Adjacent is not going to pick adjacent sibling, it's not going to pick any child. It's going to pick the child or the element directly after the parent. So can you see this? So this is a parent, this is a parent, but your adjacent sibling will pick the first element directly after this. Can we see that? Do we get that? So there's now also a general sibling selector. So this general sibling selector, it selects all the elements that are next siblings of a specified element. So all the elements that are next sibling, that's for your general sibling. So this is a parent. So can you see that this is a parent, right? But after that parent, can you see this in between here? So can you see that? It didn't pick for the general sibling, it didn't pick the one directly after the parent. It picked the one directly after the parents and the one after a code. So it selects all the elements that are next siblings of a specified element. So can you see the next sibling of this specified element is 4. So it picked 4 and it picked 3. And this 3 is directly after an element. Why for adjacent sibling? Adjacent sibling is directly after. Do we understand? So in the scenario where we can use, in the scenario where we can use adjacent selector, right, is when, for instance, you want to style P in a selector. And P that you want to style in the selector, you don't want the ones that are in that selector. You want the ones that are like outside your selector. So that's when you use your general sibling. So you can look at this general sibling, and try it yourself. Yes, so let's do the exercise quickly.
Your voice was breaking.
Oh, the last again. So if, for instance, like in our classwork, we had what's the about me section, right? And after the about me section, before we kept our favorite section. The adjacent. So I'll say the adjacent is not outside. The div plus, right? So when I say div plus, you understand that not the can you mute? Who is that? The exercise, let me done the done. All right, sorry for that short break. I was logged out and it took before I was logged back in. Are we done with the exercise now?
Please, where did you give us exercise? We didn't get it.
Okay. Anu, can you make me host? Yeah, the host. Anu, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I've made you host.
Okay. I've made you host. So in case of next time, if I go off again, but I won't go off again till the meeting ends. All right. So I told us to do the exercise here. This exercise. Did we get these combinators? Hmm? Please talk to me so I'll know what's going on.
To a point.
Okay. So have we done the exercise? Mm. So let me do a recap. It seems most of us have finished it. So if you have elements in an element that is, it is nested, it will be what? If the element is in the element, we have what? Div P, that's our descendant. That's all the child in the div element. Then if you have element greater than P, is a child. That is all the child. We don't want grandchildren. We don't want great grandchildren. We just only want children. And if we have element plus element, that's the adjacent sibling, right? So it's the element that is placed immediately after the parent. And the last one is the general sibling. That one is select every element that proceeds by the what elements we are trying to look for. Even if it's outside, this is going to like get it. So this is another type of selector, our pseudo class. So the pseudo class is used to define a special state of an element. For example, it can be used to style an element when a mouse moves over it. It can be used to style visited and unvisited. And it can be used to style an element when it gets focus. So if you mouse over this now, so can you see it? So can you see? So this pseudo class is only used for what? When we're styling our button and we're styling our form. I'm sure there's sometimes when you want to write in a form, maybe you want to log into a website. And moments when you click on the place where you write your name, it will come out like this. So the selector that is responsible for you to hover around your button and it gives a particular color, and for this to happen, and for your visited and your unvisited links to change, is your what? Selector pseudo class. So this is syntax you will use. You use selector dash pseudo class, right? Then you give your property and your value. The property and your value is your what? Your declaration. So we also have anchor studio class. The anchor studio class is for our what? Our link, the href link. You know, A is for href. So for linked, for your visited, for your over. Over is what I just showed you earlier when I came over this mouse over me. The way I kept my this thing over this mouse over me, that's what it means to over, like to go over like a link. Then active if it's active. So you can click on this, try it yourself, and we'll see it. So there's also pseudo classes and HTML classes, and they can be combined, right? So when you over the link in the examples, you change color. And when you over a div, you can change color too, right? And you can also use simple tooltip over. So when you do that too, it works. So there's also the first child pseudo class. Who can remember the first child and the last child from when we did calculator? Can you remember? Can anybody remember when we were studying our calculator? Right?
Yes, ma'am. I can remember.
So that is the first child pseudo class. So you can do the first class pseudo class. It matches a specific element that is the first child of another element. You know what it means to be a child? That is, if you're in an element, the first element in the child, that's the first child, and the last element in that nested element is what? Is the child. Then you can match the first I elements in all P elements. You can match all I elements in all first child P elements. And also the language pseudo class. The language is an attribute, right? You can also style that. So let's do the exercise quickly. So we have less than 20 minutes. I don't know if, okay, let me take pseudo element. So when that pseudo element, because we have to leave this meeting exactly 12:55. So we can join the other meeting that we have. So let's do this exercise quickly, or better still, we'll add it to our assignment. And let's not forget our assignment. Our assignment is what? CSS outline to CSS align. So we'll go through everything in W3 schools. So let's look at this pseudo element before our time is up. So what are pseudo elements? Pseudo element is used to style specific part of an element, right? It can be used to style the first letter or line of an element, or to insert content before or after the content of an element. So we have the first line pseudo element. First line pseudo element is used to add a special style to the first line of a text. And the first line pseudo element can only be applied to the block level elements. So we all know what block level elements are, right? So it's only block elements you can put your first line pseudo element on. Then you can have things like font properties, color properties, background properties, word spacing, letter spacing, text decorator, vertical align, text transform. We saw text transform today, right? Line weight and clear. So notice that the double notation there versus this one. So the double colon replaces the single colon notation for pseudo elements in CSS3. It's if you are using CSS2 and CSS1 that you can use single. But so far you are using CSS3, you will have to use what? Double. And the first letter pseudo element is used to add a special style to the first letter of a text, right? So use it to add a style to the first letter of a text. So note that the first letter pseudo element can only be applied to block element. I've said that before. I've listed some of the classes it can be attached to. So this is an example. And we also have multi, like more than one. This is when you use it before the pseudo before and the after pseudo element, right? Then we also have marker pseudo elements. And we also have the selection pseudo elements, right? Those are the various types of pseudo elements we can have. So we can also look at this later on at our spare time. So pseudo element is used for after. You can see that all these type of selector, they are a bit different from the normal selector, normal HTML elements and the normal class elements that we have, right? This one is a bit different. This one is a bit different. So this one allows you to use what? First child, empty, checked, is enabled. You will see the usefulness of all of these things when you are using form. When you are doing form, can you see the nth child? All of these have a meaning. We've seen it before. We saw most of it when we were doing our calculator, right? So let's check our opacity. So we'll be doing Navbar tomorrow. So I really want us to get to Navbar. So after our opacity, we'll check Navbar. Okay. So opacity and transparency, right? Your opacity property just specifies the transparency of an element. So if you don't do if you want your image to be more transparent, you know how we can make colors more transparent using our color code, but these ones, they are images and you want the image to be transparent. Maybe you want your text to show on the image and you just want the image to just act as a background image and your text should be on it. So for that to work, you use your opacity property, and it can take from 0.0 to 1.0. So this one is at 0.2, this one is at 0.5, and this one is at 1 when the opacity is at 1. So you can also use it for your transparent over effects, that maybe when you want to over around your buttons or a picture. So you can check out all of this to see. Transparent box is similar to the one we did in colors. This is when you're using RGBA, right? This is for text in transparent box. So if you want your text to be in transparent box, this is how you go about it. After you've kept your background, you now put a transparent box and you have your text there. So that's also the exercise. So I also want us to look at Navbar. Then we'll pick it up from Navbar tomorrow. So for your navbar, we have vertical and we have what? Horizontal. So your navigation bars, having easy to use navigation is important for any website. With CSS, you can transform boring HTML menus into good looking navigation bars, right? So your navigation bar, it just includes what? List of links. And that's all we'll do tomorrow. Part of the things we'll do tomorrow. So navigation bar needs standard. So the navigation bar needs what? It needs a standard HTML list. That is, you know how we did list then, when I showed you how you use an unordered list, and I was saying that your unordered list, sometimes you can use it for your what? For your navbar. So your navbar can be horizontal or it can be vertical. I'll show you how the two of them can works, right? So your navigation bar needs a standard HTML as a base. So this is an example. So can you see this? So we'll remove these bullets and make it float to the right, right? So when we remove the bullets and make it float to the left, so can you see? We remove the bullets like this. So if you use list style none, it's remove the bullets, and if you use navigation bar, it does not need list markers. Then you set your padding to 0. So this one is a vertical navbar. So can you see this vertical navbar is mostly used for smaller devices, right? When you're using smaller devices, but you can also use it for larger device, but it's mostly used for smaller devices. So can you see it? It's just down here. That's how your navbar works. And then we have different styles you can use to achieve it. They've already shown you how you can achieve it using different styles and their CSS code. Then we have horizontal navbar, right? So this is your horizontal navbar, the one that most of us are mostly with, and the one we have on this HTML, this W3 schools. So we have float to the left, display. They said the display should be blocked, the padding, the background color. So these are the horizontal navbar. This is an example. This one is active. This is when you write align the link. Then we have border divide. When you use your border to divide each section. Then you have fixed navigation bar, whereby it does not move. It's neither fixed up or it's fixed down. It won't move. It's either fixed to the top or fixed to the down. Then this way you have gray navigation bar. Then there's also something called sticky navbar. So this is how to get your sticky navbar. So there are more examples for responsive top navbar. So you know I said that if you want to do for smaller screen, it should be vertical. So can you see? Can you see that for smaller screen is vertical that works most, and for larger screen is what? Horizontal. So any questions so far on what we've done now and on today's class? Any question?
No question, but you were a bit fast.
Yeah, I'm a bit fast because I've been told not to make you guys stay in class less than 12:55, right?
Okay, we'll look it up later.
Yeah. So that's why I'm being very fast because this is already 12:47. By 12:55, we need to end this class. I will not have any more class. So
Sorry.
any more question? Yes.
Does that mean there's changes to the timetable now?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
What did you say?
You said you have been asked not to, is it 12:45 also?
12:55, 55.
Daily.
No, just today. You guys have a meeting. Are you aware? Or
No,
you're not aware?
I just joined. My phone was down.
Oh, if you're on the WhatsApp group chat, you will see that you have a meeting, right? So you
Okay.
have a meeting by 12:55. So when you leave here, you will have to like join the meeting. And I don't want a situation whereby I will delay anybody from going to the meeting. So
Oh.
can somebody give us a recap of what the class is if you don't have any question? Can we have a recap? Somebody, should I call anybody? Anu, please, can you do a recap, please? Anu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you give a recap of today's class?
Basically, we
Peace.
were able to work on the file we created. Was on Monday. The profile HTML. So we were able to add the box to the to our file. We were able to add the box. I think okay, it was only the box that we added to the CSS file. So I don't know if anybody else can give us a recap.
Okay. All right. So love it. Are you paying attention? Or better still, love it or Miriam or Peace? Anybody wants to try?
Okay, let me try.
Okay.
First, you started with the classwork. We styled the classwork, added background to the about me section, and we did some other styling to the classwork. Then came to combinators, CSS combinators. You talked about the different kinds of combinators, descendant, selector, child selector, adjacent sibling selector, and general sibling selector. How they style, for example, descendant selector would style the elements that whether it's a grandchild or it will style all the descendants of that specific element. And then you went to Pseudo class. It will style an element maybe when you mouse over it, or maybe when the element gets focused, and the syntax was the selector, double colon, the pseudo class, and the curly brackets, and whatever property and value we want to add. And that was where we saw how to do the over effects, and yeah, the over effect. Then you went to pseudo elements, how to style either the first letter of an element or the first line of an element, maybe the first letter of a P element or the first line of a P element. You can add some style properties to them separately. You can use that to extract and add and style them. Then you went to opacity and transparency. And you said 0.1 being 1 being not transparent and 0.1 being very transparent. Okay. Then we went to Navbar. We can do the horizontal bar and the vertical bar. Okay, I didn't get that part very well, but I'm going to read more on it. So that's how far I can go.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss. Thank you so much, everybody. This is almost 12:55. So we're rounding up now. Please sign your attendance. You can put it on the group chat for people that, okay, just leave it here. Just sign it. Ngozi is already like emphasizing on it, right? So let me stop recording. Make sure we do our homework, right? The homework is even in this recording, we'll see it. And let's do well to join the other meeting and have a great day ahead. Bye for now.